Hey, so just finishing a workout. Um, one of my favorite martial arts is Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do, but there's so much malarkey going on in the Jeet Kune Do or JKD community. I remember first starting martial arts when I was about 7. I first started in judo, and I'm talking that YMCA judo, not that top-notch uh, UFC type judo that you see today. But it excuse me, it was fun. um I actually didn't have a choice. I was a scrawny little kid. This is the 80s, and my parents basically said I had no choice. I had to choose a martial art. It was either karate or judo. I thought I would get my ass kicked in karate, so I said, okay, judo it is. I actually enjoyed it. um I did it for about a year or so before moving on. I guess they just wanted me to have some basic life saving skills. I had judo and I had swimming. So I was one of those black kids that could actually swim. I know, rare, right? um, Years later, I wanted to get back into martial arts, so I finally got my parents to get me into taekwondo, the McDonald's of karate in the 90s, and maybe still now. And it was at Kim's Karate. Shout out to Kim's Karate if they're still around. I think there might be one school left on the East Coast. I don't know. But I got into that, and then as an adult, I gravitated into Jeet Kune Do. I had did a lot of self instruction over the years in my intern between styles, and I finally got to get some formal lessons. But it's a lot of crap with JKD. I remember when I first learned about it, I've heard there was 26 styles involved in it, which Bruce Lee personally uh, did research on. Some he had formal instruction in, particularly Wing Chun Kung Fu under Grandmaster Ip Man. Everyone pretty much knows that story. But C. Joe Bruce had researched a bunch of other stuff on his own as well. But later on, I guess with some of the stuff going on with the Bruce Lee estate, um, some of the I won't name anyone in particular, but family members were starting to say that no, Jeet Kune Do isn't this medley of martial arts. It's just Wing Chun Kung Fu, and then later on, fencing and boxing. So I asked this one of the Shifus. I was like, I don't want to get into the politics of this martial arts because I know from our group, the, one of the Sifus there, Shifu Larry Hotzel, the late Shifu Larry, said just shut up and train. He didn't want to get into all the bull that goes on in the JKD community. But the Shifu was like, he was like, well, yeah, I don't want to call anyone a liar, but that's just manifestly untrue. Like, how do you get the kicks and other things that you see in Jeet Kune Do? It definitely isn't coming from Wing Chun. And I mean, no one's kicking in Western boxing and fencing, so simply not true. um, and and then on top of that, you have evolution of C. Joe Bruce's art. So it was one art, but you could say three different styles in that system. So it started as being just called the art of Kung Fu, I guess, which was basically mostly Wing Chun Kung Fu with other martial Chinese martial arts uh, influenced as well, which later evolved into John Fan Kung Fu. John Fan being Bruce's name in Cantonese. Uh, when he, started uh, researching boxing and the fencing, which was what was talked about by the members of the Bruce Lee estate. But it went on from there. Like he started looking at other arts. Like you can clearly see the effects of what he thought was at least Muay Thai at the time. Um, Teachers later on further developed that, as well as stuff like Savat, which is a French kickboxing, as well as Filipino martial arts. All the weapons you see him doing in the movies, that was Filipino martial arts. Uh, and so from John Fan Kung Fu to Jeet Kune Do, you saw the further development where there's more of an emphasis on stuff that that's just more applicable in both like full contact fighting as far as combat sports, which is why JKD is sometimes called the father of mixed martial arts, and as well as just for realistic self defense. According to Shifu Burton Richardson, he said that JKD became that. Well, Jeet Kune Do became that from John Fan Kung Fu once Bruce Lee started experimenting with hard sparring. He said once the hard sparring became an element of the system, that's when it turned into Jeet Kune Do, which is great. Which is funny because some of the JKD practitioners are sometimes accused of not being very realistic in their uh, practice methods. I think it depends on whom you go to because some are very involved in the sparring and practicality. When I started, my shifu wanted me to go into Sanshou, which is Chinese kickboxing. So definitely uh, geared towards actual like combat sports and practical self defense, whereas others may lean more heavily towards the classical John Fan Kung Fu stuff, more towards the Wing Chun Kung Fu, which isn't a functional martial art. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not every martial art has to be a functional martial art, but um, those will be the guys who kind of perpetuate the stereotype of JKD being useless and just being a bunch of people doing bad philosophy. But in any case, I will be showcasing from time to time some martial arts, and if anyone has any questions on it, they can leave it in the comments. I'll answer questions or show off some of the stuff that I know. I've already done so in a few videos if you want to check that out below. All right, talk to you guys later.